What's up guys, Mike here, and today we are dealing with a very sensitive topic. So before we get started, I want to talk about what this video is and what it isn't. So what this video is a look at one of the biggest sports conspiracies of all time. The death of James Jordan and Michael Jordan's gambling have been linked in sports conspiracies for the last 20 or so years. And so while this topic is, like I said, sensitive, I thought as a basketball channel that makes conspiracy videos that it was important to look at this conspiracy and to tell you guys what happened. Now, what this video is not is me saying that this conspiracy is true. I'll actually save my judgment for the conspiracy until the end of the video, but please wait until the end of the video to actually hear my judgment. Because during the video, it might seem like I think the conspiracy is true, but I'm really just looking at the case. I'm really just looking at why people think it might be true. Which brings us to the topic of today's video. Did the Mafia or some member of a drug organization kill Michael Jordan's father? Now, we have already done a conspiracy video on Michael Jordan and whether his first retirement was actually a secret suspension by David Stern due to his gambling. But in that video, I did not touch upon the death of James Jordan, which I have since regretted because I see this topic everywhere. I see it on Twitter, I see it on Reddit, I see it on basketball message boards. This is a real conspiracy. People think that this actually happened. So today, we're going to look into this conspiracy and see if it's possible or if it's just some made up nonsense created by people that are looking for something to tie Michael Jordan to this death. I hope you guys enjoy. We are going to start this video with two facts because it's these facts that will lead us down the path to this horrible conspiracy and perhaps to the truth. Fact number one, Michael Jordan was a huge gambler. This was known in NBA circles for a long time throughout Jordan's career. The man would gamble on everything: ping pong games, pool games, golf, whatever Jordan could bet on, he would bet on. And he wasn't always honest with these bets. Take the time in a Portland airport where Jordan pulled a $100 bill out and bet his teammates that his luggage would come out first because he was the team's star. Since this was a public airport and they thought he was just being cocky, 9 of Jordan's teammates took this bet and were in shock when MJ's bag was the first off the plane and they had to pay up. The catch here was that Michael had bribed the bag boys ahead of time to put his bag on first, a fact that was only revealed after he had taken his teammates' money. Moving on, fact number 2. Michael Jordan racked up huge gambling debts and did not always pay right away. Friendly wagers over ping pong games, golf games, and whatever else are fine. People do them every day. Jordan's problem though was that these friendly wagers did not satisfy him. Soon he was gambling with higher and higher stakes, and this caught up to him. Perhaps the best initial demonstration of this was during the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals when the Bulls were playing the New York Knicks. Incredibly, the night before a game, Jordan was spotted in Atlantic City as late as 2:30 in the morning. Keep in mind that Atlantic City is 2 hours away from MSG at the very least. He reportedly lost $5,000 that night, and most importantly, his Bulls would go on to lose the following night. This put a lot of heat on MJ, heat that would become a full-blown fire during the summer of '93. Because during this summer, the NBA announced a full-force investigation into Jordan's gambling problems. This investigation centered around 3 main incidents. The first and possibly most telling was the curious case of a $57,000 check written by Michael Jordan. The check was seized by authorities when they raided the house of Slim Buller, a man who was both a golf shop owner and a drug mule for a local drug and gambling kingpin. Originally, Jordan stated that this money was just a loan, but when this $57,000 check was used as evidence in a criminal case against Slim Buller for money laundering, Jordan was forced under oath to admit that this check was indeed to settle gambling losses. To sum this all up, because it might be a lot to take in, under oath, Michael Jordan was forced to admit to have a gambling relationship with a man, Slim Buller, who pushed cocaine for a drug kingpin. The second incident came with the murder of Eddie Dow, another shady character who was known for putting up cash to free accused criminals. After his murder, 3 checks were found in Dow's briefcase totaling $108,000. These checks were written by Michael Jordan, again covering more of his gambling losses. Again, another instance that proves that Michael Jordan had gambling relationships with men who were pretty shady. And finally, the third incident was introduced with a book written by Richard Aquinas. In this book, Aquinas details the many times he gambled with Jordan and reveals that Jordan would often rack up huge debts. At one point, Jordan owed Aquinas $902,000 and he did not pay, at least right away. According to Richard, Jordan evaded several phone calls and letters requesting him to pay, and finally agreed to pay a sum of only $300,000 on top of having a payment plan. Aquinas states that he took $300,000 because he was tired of chasing Jordan around and and he was scared that Jordan was going to ultimately never pay. And as for the payment plan, that was necessary because Jordan's wife looked at his finances and would notice a huge loss in money. And so you can sense an eerie pattern here, right? It's been proven that leading up to James Jordan's death, Michael Jordan was racking up gambling losses to shady characters. I mean, he wrote a $57,000 check to a drug mule, and also $108,000 worth of checks was found in a briefcase of a man who was murdered. That is all definitely strange, and things do get a little stranger when we actually look at James Jordan's death. According to authorities, on July 23rd, 1993, James Jordan pulled over on a highway in North Carolina to take a nap. Seeing the car, Daniel Green and Larry Demery spotted an opportunity to make an easy robbery. They shot James, dumped his body in a swamp in South Carolina, and were eventually caught after making several calls on James Jordan's cell phone. Fast forward to 1996, and both Green and Demery are given life sentences in what appears to be an open and shut case. But here's where the conspiracy begins. In 1998, Daniel Green explained his side of the shooting. While in the original trial, Demery blamed Green for the shooting, Green had another story. He states that, "I did not kill Mr. Jordan, no sir. I did not kill him, that's cut and dry. It's not like I was even there when he was killed." When asked if he was upset that Demery blamed him, Green said, "I feel that both of us are pawns in a game." And everyone in prison says they're really innocent, right? Well, I think the weird statement here is that both of us are pawns in a game, because Green does admit to transporting James Jordan's body to South Carolina and to disposing of the body. What he does say though is that he was not the killer and that he was not even there for the shooting. And it appears that there may be actual proof that Green is telling the truth. Just this year, Green's lawyers have been calling for a retrial due to new proof being introduced in this case. Apparently, an outside audit of the state crime lab that provided the evidence that got Green convicted in the first place was found to have falsely reported information about blood evidence in 190 cases spanning from 1987 to 2003. One of these cases that was provided false information was the case of James Jordan's death. And that's not all. Green's lawyers have also stated that on James Jordan's cell phone, Demery placed a call to the sheriff's son, a man who is now a convicted drug trafficker. This call, for some reason, was never looked into by anyone, which again is suspicious. And it seems very possible that the case of James Jordan's death was mishandled. For what reason, I'm not sure, but let's tie the pieces of this conspiracy together. And so, in the years leading up to his father's death, Michael Jordan was gambling heavily and had both a history of taking a long time to make gambling payments and a history of gambling with men who were associated with drugs and criminals. On top of this, James Jordan was killed in a case that was both mishandled and has been challenged for years due to the mishandling of this evidence. At the very least, we know that Daniel Green referred to himself and Larry Demery as pawns in a game. And we know that Larry Demery placed a call to a known drug mule that was never looked into. So what does this all mean? Was Michael Jordan's father really killed by the Mafia or some other drug figure? And was Michael Jordan suspended by David Stern due to his gambling? Well, for every conspiracy theorist that wants this to be true, I'm going to need to burst your bubble here. Because after looking at both of these cases more, I don't think either of these conspiracies are true. Especially after reading the words of Ron Shelton, the man who created Jordan Rides the Bus, the 30 for 30 on Jordan that had to do with him playing baseball. Since he made that documentary, Shelton has stated that time and time again, local and national reporters have told him that at the time of James Jordan's death and Michael Jordan's first retirement, they all went down and investigated this whole conspiracy because it would have been one of the biggest stories of all time. And no one found anything. On top of this, in the 20 plus years since this has happened, we still have no concrete evidence. So while things certainly do look a little suspicious here, I think James Jordan's death was just a horrible tragedy. And I think Michael Jordan's retirement was a reaction to that tragedy. James Jordan was Michael Jordan's best friend, his mentor, and most importantly, his father. So looking at this objectively, I think playing baseball for him was more than understandable. And so that about wraps up today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. If anything, I hope this video was a reminder to actually really research every conspiracy that you hear. Don't just blindly believe things. I thought there might be a possibility that this was true until I really researched it, but after looking into these topics, there was just no real evidence. I mean, there was Jordan's gambling and then his father's death and his retirement, and people wanted to just put them all together because it seemed like there might be something there. But when you really look at it, it doesn't actually look like there's something there, especially in the case of James Jordan. I literally found zero evidence that that was true. And so if you're new to this channel, I hope hope you do subscribe. I'm going to be doing more conspiracy videos like this. I'm doing NBA history videos. I am planning a what if that's supposed to be coming up soon, and I'm covering the NBA all season. So if you love basketball, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have you. And if you are subscribed, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for your support. You know it means everything to me. And as always, guys, have an awesome day, and cue the music.